Hello yourself and welcome to the fourth lesson of developing games in Scratch. Lesson 4, using variables. In today's lesson, we are going to learn how to develop variables in our games that will allow us to count and store values. Talk task 1. Think about the last game you played. What variables were used? How the values of these variables change over time? I'm going to ask you to pause the video for a minute or two and just consider those two questions. What variables were used? How the values of the variables change over time? You can answer this question for any game you played recently, as they all would have used some form of variable. Please pause the video now and consider. Fantastic. So hopefully you paused the video. We're going to look at an example now of how different games use variables. Looking at this screenshot here, what variables can you see? So this is a screenshot taken from Mario Kart, and as you can see there's quite a lot of information displayed to the user on the screen. If you weren't able to answer the question from the previous slide, using this example, I want you to this time try to identify the different variables that are used in this game. How will they change over time? Once again, please pause the video for a minute or two to consider and reflect and answer the questions. Fantastic. Hopefully you've paused the video and you were able to identify the different variables. So, we're going to start from the top left. You may have noticed that there is information shown here which outlines which lap you are on, and as you can see the user is on lap 1 of 3. So there's actually a variable counter in Mario Kart that will go up by 1 each time the user has completed 1 lap of the circuit, and of course the lap would start 1 and then go up until 3. The second variable, we go over to the right hand side, is time. Now of course time in this game is used to count how long it has taken for the user to complete the race, and the time variable will start at 0 and go up by 1 each second. If we go down on the right hand side now, we've also got speed. Now of course this variable will show the user how fast the kart is going, depending on how kind of intense they hold down the trigger, and of course how long they've been going and any special objects they've got that will allow them to go faster. So this just shows them how fast they are going. If you go back to the left hand side, we've got coins, or you could have called them score. Now this variable very clearly counts the amount of coins the user has collected over the course of the race, and again for each coin it goes up by 1 every time the user's touched it. And this is something that we're going to use in the Pac-Man game. And lastly, we have position. Of course, this variable counts or stores the position of the player depending on if they are first, second, third or fourth. These are ever-changing values that are all variables and will change based on what progress is made in the game. So just to reiterate, we have speed, position, time, lap, and coins. So in this video, we are going to show you how to develop a score counter for each food sprite. So as the user is moving Pac-Man across the screen, as it touches a food sprite, the food sprite variable will go up by 1 each time. And for those of you who are making really good progress, I would like you to try to create a time variable that goes up, just like the Mario Kart game, or you could make it start at a high number and then go down. You could do this, for example, to make the user try to complete the game as fast as possible, and if the timer gets to 0, the game ends. So I'm going to open up Pac-Man now. What we should have is a Pac-Man game that will allow the user to navigate through the different parts of the maze. When it touches the wall, it should stop, and all directions should work. So before you move on to this video, can you just test one more time to make sure this works? Also, what I would recommend is to go through to make sure you can access every single part of the maze. And I've left this here on purpose, just so that you can see that this is something you should fix, because if there is a food sprite in the top left, you'll not be able to access it. So, if you've got a lot of code here and it's quite hard to read, you can right click and press clean up blocks, and what that will do, that will move all of your blocks in a nice uniform manner, which will allow you to read them and troubleshoot any problems you are having. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new sprite. You can choose a sprite from file, but I'm going to show you how to create your own one. So you go to the paintbrush tool, and of course you can make your food sprites like anything you want. I'm going to keep mine very simple and just make mine quite light red. So I'm going to use red, I think. And then the outline is also going to be red. Of course you can experiment with the different colours as you see fit. So I'm just going to draw a nice red circle, and you can see here that it's quite big. So of course you can resize the object just by dragging the dots on either side. I think that's perfect. I'm going to move mine now to the center, just here. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to position your sprites using the X and Y coordinates, which is another type of script that we're going to use. So once you're happy with your food sprite, you go back to code, and you are going to start with an event, which is of course green flag clicked. Please make sure you are on sprite 1, and now is a good time to change your object. So I'm going to call mine food 1. I'm going to call it food 1. So when the green flag is clicked, go to control, you're going to find a forever, which is of course iteration, it keeps happening. Then you're going to find an if statement and put it inside there. So we're going to forever if, and we're going to find out what we're actually going to do. So forever if. So if this food sprite is touching Pac-Man, so we go to sensing, you go down to, and you change the mouse pointer to Pac-Man. Now you're going to go to looks and scroll down to find hide. Okay, so you're going to go down and find hide. You can of course also experiment with getting different objects to say things. So it's completely up to you. You can say hello, say you've eaten me. This is up to you in terms of how you'd like to experiment with your game. I'm just showing you the standard coding. So if I move down, and some of you may have noticed the mistake I've made. Good, so the food sprite is eaten, it disappears. When I press the red flag and then the green flag, the food sprite doesn't reappear. What do you think we need to do? Just to show you one more time, red flag, green flag, but the food sprite does not reappear. What do we need to do? Some of you may have seen already, fantastic. You're going to show when the green flag is clicked. Okay, so we need to tell Pac-Man or the game what to do. Every time the green flag is clicked, we are telling the game to restart. So everything must show again in case it was hidden previously. So green flag will allow it to show, and it will be eaten just to test. Fantastic, so it should keep reappearing. But now that we've done that, nothing actually changes in terms of the score. So what we need to do is create a variable. So you're going to go on the left hand side and find variables, and you're going to make a variable. So we're not going to use the my variable, we're going to make a variable. We're going to give it a sensible name. I'm going to call it score. You can call it whatever you want. Make sure it's for all sprites. Good, so now you should have score on the left hand side as a variable that we've created. So if we go here, we're going to set score, so change that to 0. So every time you press the green flag, the score will be reset back to 0 to show that we've started a new game. But what also needs to happen inside the if statement to show that the food variable has been eaten by Pac-Man? What do we need to add? Okay, if you figured it out, well done. You're going to add a change my variable, but of course we're going to change it to score by 1. So now, if I restart the game, I should, fantastic, so the Pac-Man should, once touching the food sprite will disappear, and then the score will go to 1. Start that again, and the score is set back to 0, and also the food sprite reappears on the screen, which is fantastic. So if you were able to do that, very well done. Now the next task you're going to do is, because we need more than one food sprite, rather than recreating a variable every single time, because we've got the food sprite here and the code, we can simply duplicate this sprite by right-clicking, duplicate, and as you can see, it creates another object for us. And you can do this as many times as you need. Right-click again, duplicate, and it will create a new object. So this is completely up to you in terms of how many objects you would like. Remember, just look here, it has created food 1, 2, 3, so it creates a number for us so that we know how many food sprite objects we have. So if you're going to go crazy and have 30, 40 food sprites, you know how many you have in the game. So if you need to end the game once Pac-Man's eaten all of them, you know what the total score should be. As the extension, a timer. A timer would be a really good way to add challenge to your game so that the user is aware of how long they've taken. So if I go to backdrops, see if you can start creating a timer variable that goes up by 1 each second. You could make it start at 0 and go up, or you can make it start at 180 seconds if you wanted to give the user a few minutes, for example, and you can make that go down by 1 each second. And of course, once the timer gets to 0, the game ends. So it's completely up to you, but remember, you need when the green flag is clicked, you need to create a variable, give it a sensible name, you need to make the variable go up or down, but before it goes up or down, you must get it to wait. Now we've used the wait already here. We've used the wait here. So good luck, and in the next video we're going to learn how to position our sprites using the X and Y axes in Scratch. Of course, any questions, please email your teacher or let me know, and I will be more than happy to give you some assistance.